Earlier today, President Trump held a special roundtable meeting focused entirely on Antifa, just weeks after officially designating the group as a domestic terrorist organization. The meeting brought together key cabinet members and several journalists who have personally experienced Antifa violence during the so-called Summer of Love in Portland. Many shared harrowing accounts of chaos, attacks, and destruction that still haunt the city today. The discussion also reminded many Americans how far the unrest has gone, from seemingly peaceful gatherings in the past to the violent demonstrations we've witnessed in recent years. On top of that, Stephen Miller, the White House Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy, recently made headlines after appearing on CNN, one of the few times he agrees to go on what he calls fake news. During that appearance, Miller was pressed about whether the government had gone too far in labeling Antifa a threat. His response was firm. He explained that, as we speak, violent extremists are directly attacking federal law enforcement operations. Immigration and customs enforcement officers, he said, are being forced into physical hand-to-hand combat almost every night just to get to and from their buildings. These assaults include swarming vehicles, attempting to overturn them, and even brandishing weapons to stop ICE officers from doing their jobs. According to Miller, this fits the textbook definition of domestic terrorism, using the threat of violence to obstruct federal officials from enforcing U.S. law. The administration emphasized that we would never allow violent, unlawful assemblies to surround FBI, ATF, or DEA offices. So why should ICE facilities be any different? By definition, these are acts meant to terrorize and disrupt core government operations. Now, what's particularly noteworthy about Miller's comments is that he didn't shy away from blaming Democratic leaders. He accused them of standing on the side of chaos rather than order, aligning, as he said, with the domestic terrorists. In his view, Antifa has been conducting daily, ongoing assaults against officers, doxing them, threatening their families, and attempting murders, both by weapon and by vehicle attacks. And while this has been happening, certain Democratic officials have turned their backs on law enforcement. For instance, in Chicago, the murder rate under Governor J.B. Pritzker has skyrocketed, over 4,000 murders, 5 times that of New York City. Instead of working with federal agencies to restore safety, Miller argued that local leaders are blaming President Trump for problems they've failed to control themselves. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, for example, even called for the arrest of ICE agents, a move Miller described as complete madness. In contrast, Miller pointed to Washington, D.C. as proof that the Trump administration's law and order strategy works. Once the Trump plan was implemented, violent crime dropped sharply, families felt safer, and citizens returned to restaurants, public monuments, and city parks. The only people who lost out, Miller argued, were criminals, gang members, and violent offenders. President Trump, he said, wants that same peace and security for cities like Chicago, Portland, and Los Angeles. Yet local leadership continues to refuse help. So the real question is, why aren't these leaders standing up for law and order? Why cling to defund the police ideas and vague, reimagine safety slogans that do nothing to protect victims of crime? The numbers tell a grim story. Just one weekend in Chicago saw over 70 people shot in public gun battles, making parts of the city more dangerous than Mexico City or even Baghdad. This isn't just political anymore. It's a humanitarian crisis in the end, the message from President Trump's team is clear. The administration stands for peace, order, and safety for American citizens, while opponents, they argue, are turning a blind eye to violence.